Good morning, grade 5s, and welcome. Today we will be looking at the impact of human activities on the environment. We are going to be looking at how human activities change our physical landscape or our physical features. But before we do that, I want you to do this short activity for me. The answers will be supplied at the end of the lesson. And what I want you to do here is I want you to match the pictures with the words below. So here are the words provided for you, and I've also got the pictures there. And the first question has been done for you. A is 2. So 2 is a coastline. So A, this picture shows a coastline. B, find out what B is. Do everything right up to J, and I want you to time yourself. Do this in 2 minutes. Okay, so once you're done with the activity, we move on. Remember, the answers for this activity will be provided at the end of the lesson. Like I said, today we're going to be looking at the impact of human activities on the environment. In my last lesson, I spoke about the link between physical features and human activities. For example, I said fishing along a coastline. Fishing is a human activity and the coastline is a physical feature. So there is a link between the coastline and fishing as an activity. So today we'll look at how these activities have an impact on the environment. Human beings are very, very creative, and they are constantly changing the environment and physical features to suit their own needs. However, as we change the environment and our physical features, problems arise. Okay? So problems start to arise due to us changing our physical features and the environment around us. Let us look at the next slide. Okay, this slide talks about coastal plains, and we know what coastal plains are. They are gentle, sloping areas very close to the sea. People move to these areas, and as they move, activities start to happen around these areas. If we look at this picture here, we've got a boat that is going to sea. And this boat here, this person is likely to be on business, for example, because these coastal plains and seas can be used for business purposes or recreational purposes. So this person is going out to sea, he's going fishing, which of course is a business. And as he goes to sea, can you see what he's leaving behind? His boat maybe has not been serviced, and it's leaving behind a trail of oil. This oil is bad for our marine life. It actually kills our fish. It kills our creatures that we find in the sea. Okay, and then farming, most of the times you find that it's done along coastal plains. If the farmers do not follow good farming practices, then they tend to cause soil erosion. Yes, they are farming, looking after their own needs, but they're destroying the environment at the same time. All right, then if we move on to this picture here, you can see that there's a lot of litter here. Most of us work in very stressful environments, and when holiday comes, we want to go out to the beach and just relax. And as we are relaxing, we litter the area, okay? And when we litter the area, it's sad because when the tide comes in, it picks up all that litter and washes it back into the sea. And when it gets into the sea, it's actually polluting that environment, and we've got fish and other creatures that stay at sea. Those start to eat whatever has been pushed back into the sea. And this is what results. We end up with our fish dying because they've eaten all the plastic and so on. we are satisfying our own needs at the expense of our marine life. Alright, so our next feature is the river. And we said that rivers are very important. They bring water to the sea, and we can have dams on our rivers. A dam is a man-made feature, and dams are used to store water during dry seasons, and they are also used for recreational purposes or as recreational facilities. So, how do humans have an impact on rivers? When we build a dam on a river, we are actually changing the flow of the river. So if this river was coming from this way going that way, and then we decided to put this dam wall here, which means that we have changed its flow. The people downstream don't receive as much water as the people at the top that side, because we've actually blocked the water from freely going down. Okay, this is good for us, yes, because we are storing water for the dry season, but then it's not good for the people who are downstream because they do not receive as much water as the people upstream. Alright, and then when we build dams, the fertile soils along the banks of the river cannot be used because this area is supposed to flood. Okay, we are stopping the water from going down, so it's likely to flood. So if it's likely to flood, then it's not a good idea for anyone to plant along the banks because the whole crop is going to be flooded. And as we build these dams here, we need to move some people. Okay? Yes, we are looking after our own needs at the expense of other people's needs. So we need to move people. This is where resettlements come in. So the people who used to stay around this area have been forced to move to other areas because we want to build a dam there. Building dams also causes destruction of natural vegetation. So we've got to clear the land. And when we clear the land, we destroy the vegetation around, and we also destroy the homes of wild animals. So here what we've done is we have satisfied our own needs as human beings at the expense of our wild animals and at the expense of other people too. Alright, then our next feature is the mountains. Human activity. Yes, I'm sure you can see the human activity there. They have built roads through and around the mountains. This is Chapman's Peak in Cape Town. Alright? So, human impact on this environment is that as you drill through the mountain or along the mountain, what you're actually doing is you're loosening the rocks in that area. This encourages rock falls. And I'm sure you've driven past areas where there are signs that say, beware rock falls, okay? They have actually drilled through this area, and when you drill, you're actually shaking the ground and loosening it, and this encourages rocks to fall from the mountains. So you find that time and again, because of that movement, you actually encourage rocks to fall down this mountain. And if there is a river that was starting right at the top of the mountain, remember we said our rivers start high up in the mountains. So if there's a river that was flowing from up the mountain, we actually change the flow of the river by creating these roads here. So drilling also encourages mudslides during rainy seasons because we are loosening the soil, and when it rains incessantly, then that you find that the water soaks in and the land becomes very easy to move. Alright, so there again we are satisfying our own needs by changing that physical feature. And then this one, I added the forest as well. Forests are also physical features. These are naturally occurring forests, not the ones that have been planted. Human beings cut down these forests to suit their own needs. They clear the land for building purposes, for firewood, for making furniture, and so on. Human impact on the physical feature. So how does these activities impact on the physical feature? So we actually destroy animal homes. We encourage soil erosion because there's nothing binding the soil together, especially in the rural areas where we cut down trees for firewood. We never replace these trees. So what happens is we end up with areas that are just bare like that, areas that don't have any vegetation to bind the soil together, and then soil erosion starts from there. As we cut down a lot of trees, we are also cutting down on the production of oxygen. Remember, from our NST, we know that we breathe out carbon dioxide, and then the trees take in that carbon dioxide and they give us oxygen. So as long as we are cutting down our trees, we are also cutting down on the production of our oxygen. All right, so these are some of the impacts that we as human beings have on the environment. And one other thing about us is that, we are always changing these natural features and the environment at large to suit our own needs. Fine. And then, like I said, I was going to supply you with the answers for the first activity, and the answers are there. You can pause the screen and mark. If you get everything right, I promise you I'm going to give you a merit when you come back to school. Okay, so our homework for today is on page 12 and 13 in your Platinum textbook. Sorry, our homework for today is activity 12 and 13 on page 40 and 41 in your Platinum textbook. And I want you to read those case studies before you answer the questions. I hope you have a good time. Enjoy yourselves and look after yourselves. Remember to wash your hands at all times and clean surfaces. Make sure that this coronavirus does not get you. Goodbye, grade 5s. See you next time.